You're now tuning in to the Ambitious Views podcast, where we share unique perspectives on storytelling within film and television from the past, present, and future. We're here for a good time, not a long time. So let's get to it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Ambitious Views podcast. Blaze, how are you doing today?
I am good. It was a good day. It's been a good week, and I graduate at the end of this week, so I am great.
Woo, woo.
Whoop,
You going
whoop.
down to my hometown,
Yeah, I'm going to Magnolia.
to the big city?
Big city. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find places to go out to eat after the graduation, and it's looking like we're just gonna have to come on back.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think I think there's either something in the square area, error. There's something in the square area, which is really a circle, but it's called a square.
Oh
I think
wow.
it's something down there. I think they have really good baked potatoes and stuff. So that's a good spot. I know you probably don't want to settle for pizza, but they do have pizza, Hut, but it's somewhere in the square. So if you remind me, I can send that to you. Outside of that, yeah, you might have to just, depending on, so after you leave, are you going to be going back towards Camden Way or going towards Little Rock?
So I'm gonna ride down there with my parents. So I'm going back to Pine Bluff to get my vehicle.
Mm. So I would say if El Dorado isn't too out of the way or Camden ain't out of the way, you might be able to find something in Camden to eat. And Camden is only about 30 minutes out.
Okay. Okay.
And so not only you stopping, but you also cut off time on your way back to Pine Bluff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm happy that I know a native from those ends.
From the big city, man. I'm telling y'all, boys.
Oh, I hope we
It,
don't get lost in this big city.
hey, man, I hope a cow don't get you down
Oh,
there.
wow.
Well, it's cool. I'm happy for you.
How are you?
I'm doing good. As you know, I was battling a kidney stone. I had a
Mhm.
baby stone last week, about under a lot of pounds, not even a
Oh,
pound. Um, and was very mean to me. But but yeah, I'm doing good. That experience is definitely something that I hope as many people as possible can avoid, and stuff like that or whatever. So and everything. But no, I'm doing good. Happy to getting back into that work, getting ready for the upcoming year, getting things taken care of.
mhm.
So yeah, things are looking good. So
Okay.
definitely looking forward to jumping into this episode, which we'll be talking about Fantastic Four First Steps. For
Mhm.
some, it's been a long time coming ever since Marvel was able to finally own the rights to the rest of the superheroes that Fox owned, and so uh, along with X-Men, they was able to get Fantastic Four, and I'm pretty sure Blaze would agree that we both were able to experience the first two Fantastic Fours early on,
Mhm.
and I honestly would say that I did enjoy it, and not too many people
I did
know
too.
before Ryan Coogler, there was Tim Story who actually directed the Silver Surfer documentary. So I mean documentary, Fantastic Four 2
Yeah.
movie. So yeah. So yeah, and Tim Story has done a lot of great stories. You can look up his filmography on IMDb and everything like that. So and I actually like Silver Surfer and I'm forgetting his name right now, but I guess you could say the semi-original or next to the original, just in case there was a Doctor Doom in the other, I think, Fantastic Four TV show. Um,
Hmm.
the one that we knew of from the early 2000s, Doctor Doom.
Hmm.
RIP to him. He was a really great
Yes.
actor and everything like that. Would have loved that they would have able to play off of him being a variant Doom, because he was
Hmm.
definitely very sinister. in
Yes,
that
he was so good.
was he was really good. I know people have told me that that's like a very exaggerated version of how he got his powers and everything like that. But for me personally, I feel like it did work and he did
Yeah.
a really good job. That cast was really good. So,
Mhm. It
so
almost makes me wish that what was that Wolverine and Deadpool, when they
mhm.
brought like a lot of the old people. I
Mm,
wish he could have got to be in that. That would have been
that
cool.
would have been nice.
Yeah.
That definitely would have been crazy. Yeah. But yeah, so not mad at it. I'm not mad at this. Remake is technically something that they really need to do to introduce these superheroes into the Marvel universe. Um, and um, and so yeah, so that's what we'll be going over today. But of course, before we get into that, we got to get into our game of what is this, and I'm gonna break it down to you because again, sometimes listeners and everybody else around, sometimes we forget what these
Yes,
things
they
are.
do. They do.
And so we just want to help they out, right? So
Yeah.
just to remember, what is this is a game where Blaze and I take turns once an episode, once to share a person, place, or thing in one movie or TV show. They're all in one thing. Okay.
Right. You just added a new rule, but okay.
What? What? All in one thing. Okay. So we want to just make sure we're staying on top of that. Right. So
Okay.
So yeah, so today is my turn, and I hope Blaze is ready. Are you
Let's
ready,
do it.
Blaze?
I'm ready. I stay ready.
All right. So basically, let me get over here to my Palm Pilot. Make sure I have everything ready over here. All right. So we're gonna do character names today. Gonna do character names. All right. So the first name is Nikki Nichols. The other name is Alex Voss or Voss. And the third name is Tasha Jefferson. Let me know if you would like me to say the names again or if you need a hint.
Um, Give me a hint.
All right. Your hint is that this is these characters was a part of a TV show. And this is a connection to Fantastic Four First Steps.
They were part of a TV show.
Yep.
It's connected to First Steps.
Hmm.
The only name that sounds slightly familiar is Tasha Jefferson.
Okay.
I'm assuming this is a current show, like within the past few years. And so
Few years, yeah. Few.
I'm gonna go with WandaVision.
Final answer.
That's my only answer.
That is wrong. Tasha Jefferson, Nikki Nichols, and Alex Voss were all locked up for
Wait.
almost 5 years in Orange is the New Black.
Okay, that was my first thought, but I was like, how does Orange is the New Black relate to Fantastic Four?
Hmm. So Natasha Lyon or Leon,
Yeah, she plays the love interest of the thing.
yes.
Okay, makes sense. I
Yep.
should have went with my first mind, but I was like, I just don't see the connection. But I forgot she
Yep.
was in the movie, so there we go.
Yep. 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 So yeah. So that's
I
it,
get half a
y'all.
point. I get half a point because I knew it. I said it before you even said the answer, so I knew it.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Sure. Sure.
I
Sure.
get
But
half a point. Let me get that
yeah.
half.
Yeah. What? You know what? You get a half of a chance to tell us about what you've been watching.
Well, I haven't been watching much that's new because all the other things that I'm watching, I'm just trying to finish the series or finish like a season. So the new things that I've watched,
Mhm.
I watched Hitmakers on Netflix after I had finished building the band. Basically, Hitmakers is about um so they got a bunch of songwriters together to do a songwriting camp, and they
Yeah,
have three different camps. Hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw as soon as you started sorry to cut you off. The
Hmm.
trailer, it just hit me. As soon as you started talking about, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's cool. Go ahead, go ahead."
So they have three different camps. They go to
Mhm.
Cabo, Nashville, and I want to say Jamaica.
Okay.
But they get to write for different artists. Like they write for Usher, Shabuzi, um, John Legend, and Lisa from Blackpink. But it was really cool to see how songs are made in the industry because I always look at like the songwriting credits and I'm like, how did these group of writers get together and decide to write this song? So like now I
Yeah.
get it. Like they do these songwriter camps and
Mhm.
that's kind of how these people who are from all different walks of the world get together and write, a masterpiece.
Yeah.
But it was also cool to learn about like the people who like maybe have already written a song for John Legend, but like they
Yeah.
still struggling because they're still looking for like that next hit and they need a song that's gonna go like number one, and that's how they really get some money. And
Mhm.
then seeing the people who have had several number one hits and they're doing very well in life, it
Yeah.
was interesting.
Okay. Okay, that's really dope. Yeah, I think I did add that to the list because between that one and the one that you mentioned in the last episode, it's kind of like a mix of like The Circle and Love is Blind. Like those
Mhm.
two music shows is definitely on my list. I just like it's kind of weird hearing that this the name of the show because of Hitmaker, the music producer that's
Hit
very
makeup.
successful. Hitmaker that's very successful and stuff like that. So yeah, that sounds really cool. I definitely was interested. I remember it was not too long ago here in Arkansas. They mentioned it was some artist that I know of that was advertising the camp and everything like that.
Oh,
And
really?
so yeah, and like one thing about it, like in other art forms, I do feel like sometimes it's kind of hard for us to really break through and get people to notice us outside of the state. But when it comes to music, like Arkansas be really putting out the hits,
Mhm.
because it's actually somebody from Arkansas. Of course, there's multiple stories like this, but it's actually on the last album of Chris Brown. I think it's called Show It or Show Me, that I really like off of his album before this one. One of the producers is actually from here in Little Rock that worked with Hitmaker on it.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, that sounds really dope, and I'm definitely interested to see your take on this other show that you've been watching. So
Well, I just started it.
okay.
The other show is WWE Unreal. It's a new series on Netflix that takes people behind the scenes
Hmm.
of wrestling, specifically WWE. From my from my understanding, the purpose of this show is, since WWE has Raw on Netflix now, they're trying to really, I don't want to say promote, but like definitely open up the world of wrestling to more people.
Hmm.
Um, and so I think that this show, like the purpose behind it is so people can understand more about what wrestling is, what professional wrestling is, which I think is cool. I know like a lot of old heads are kind of, against something of this nature because they believe in kayfabe and really selling the story and not talking about the business.
Yeah.
What I've seen so far, so I've watched the first episode and like maybe the first 20 or 30 minutes of the second episode.
Right.
They don't go too far behind so far. I would like to think just from my knowledge of wrestling, it's kind of surface level so far.
Okay.
So it's really good to take in if you don't know much about wrestling. If you're like a
Okay.
big wrestling fan, then you're like, they could really talk about this. They could really talk about this.
Mhm.
But I like it so far, just like kind of seeing how they make ideas about who to push, the talent to push.
Mhm.
Like the last part that I looked at before I stopped this morning, they were talking about the Royal Rumble this year
Yeah.
and who should win the Royal Rumble. And so like Triple H just asked, "Hey, who do y'all see as the winner for Royal Rumble?" And they went around the room and everybody said somebody, and then somebody else was like, "Well, this person is really popular right now. Why wouldn't he just be the winner?" And
Yeah.
that person ended up being the one that was chosen. So, and then they also had like a board where it showed like their WrestleMania plans. And like if you saw WrestleMania this year, it was completely different than what was on the board. And so
Mhm.
I hope that in the later episodes they kind of talk more about how it was this and what made them change their mind about stuff. That's what
Yeah.
I would be more interested in. Like really what makes you say let's really push this person versus this person, or we were going to go with this person but actually I think we should focus on this person. um
Yeah.
but I think a lot of people have said, and I agree with what I've seen so far, it definitely humanizes the wrestlers, and it helps people to realize that like yes, that's their job, but like they're also people. And
Right.
what they do is serious work. Like sure, the winner is predetermined, but like they can really get hurt out there.
Very much
And,
so.
and I think that that's really cool to see like after they finish a match how much pain they're in, and really seeing what their body has been through.
Yeah.
It is really humanizing them, which I think is a good point to do.
Okay. That's really cool. Yeah. I think, when I saw it, I was like, on one end, it's cool. And then it also, well, it's a very unique take. And it reminded me of the Mr. McMahon docu-series because I feel like that was kind of teasing the approach of how much do you show and the culture and things that you was mentioning and stuff like that or whatever. And it seemed like Triple H is want to pull it back. I think
Yeah.
like the old, like the kid, young teenager Corrigan or whatever like that be like, no, like
No, you're not
don't
supposed to
show
do
this.
this.
Yeah,
But it's cool.
yeah,
One of my favorite parts that like I didn't really I kind of suspected these, but like to hear them actually explain it was how they, gorilla position what
mm,
everybody does in gorilla. Like they have three different tables and you got somebody who's keeping up with the time. Like I
yeah,
always wonder, how do y'all know when to end y'all matches? Because like
yeah.
I did my 1, 2, I'm done. Like, can I go? No, we got 5 more minutes. Like, and so it's cool to see how like there's somebody there that is producing the match and they're talking directly to the referee. And so like if
Mm,
the wrestlers are going, if they only have 30 seconds left, they're like, hey, they need to move, do they finish? Y'all only got 30 seconds. And so you see the referee, like they look like they yelling at them, but really they telling them, the timing. Or if the match producer is saying, hey, I think y'all forgot this move, then the referee can communicate that, like, hey, you
yeah,
need to do the spine buster next. I
yeah,
thought that was really cool to learn what they do
yeah.
in Gorilla.
You know, it's very to me, it's very bold, and I can see this series being very interesting to some, but then also a lot of diehard fans for almost 40 plus years, they're going to be like, yeah, I'm going to skip out on this.
Yeah.
Because I think it's cool. I just think if like say if it was something that was pitched to me and I was able to be a producer, I would probably focus on the business aspect and the talent aspect of like what their lives are like carrying the franchise, you know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
say for instance back in the
And they
day
do
when
that a little bit too.
okay, cool. So like say for instance back in the day when John Cena was really high, he was like the guy.
Hmm.
Like when it wasn't attitude adjustment, it was FU,
Hmm.
like following him, like he's on a movie set, he's on like on his promotional tours. Like, how does that work? Like, how do you balance that? The traveling aspect. Also, how do you carry the business, especially now when you have so many different branches? of the WWE and what they got their hands in and stuff like that. Like,
Mhm.
what does that look like? Because it's how their business is, like how it's doing. It reminds me when Mr. McNabb, that part when they it was showing so many branches he was trying to branch out to for the football, to the restaurant, all those different type of things. And so for me, I think I would still want to prefer to do that and give a little bit of taste or whatever. Because I guess like would it be hard for viewers to experience this docuseries and then still be able to holistically enjoy watching wrestling if you still are really fully in it? Because I'm not. So it's like I might catch it on YouTube more so instead of like even though it comes live on Netflix, it still hasn't resonated that Corky, you have direct access to watch it
Mhm.
and stuff like that. I forget about it. So I think I'm curious about how it would impact the fans in the future, but I also feel like kind of like as they say fans are with when it comes to Star Wars, fans gonna be fans, like they're not going away. Those who feel like they can
Mhm.
handle docuseries, they're gonna watch it, and those like no, that's I don't like that, they're not gonna watch it. So
I mean, I think that's a good point to make, but I think it's gonna do probably like the same thing that Total Divas did, which is bring in a new set of viewers because people who like you who like documentaries are going to watch this, and because they do focus on a couple of the wrestlers, like in the first two episodes they highlighted Cody Rhodes, Rhea Ripley, and CM Punk and John Cena. Those are kind of the four that were most prominent the first two episodes. I can
mhm.
see people who, just watch documentaries watching this and being like, you know what? I really like Rhea Ripley. Let me check out Raw this week and see what she's doing. And now they become a massive Rhea Ripley fan just of her in the ring. And then they become a fan of this wrestler and that wrestler. So I can see it having that effect on them.
Yeah, it's almost like is it gonna end up being a thing where they're more a fan of the person playing the character rather than the character? Almost
I
kind
can
of
see
thing,
that.
if that
I can
makes.
see that. Cause and just from what I've noticed, a lot of the new fans that have started watching since it's been on Netflix, it's
Mhm.
that they become a fan of the person that's playing the character. Yeah.
Interesting. I can see that being pretty cool. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not in it like I used to be, but if I ever had a chance to really go, like especially if it's like a big time, I was about to say pay-per-view, but that's not a thing anymore. But like
Yeah, they
let's
call it
just
PLEs now.
oh,
Yeah. AEW still calls it pay-per-view, but WWE
okay.
calls it PLE, premium live events.
Okay, gotcha. That's kind of clever. So, but yeah, like I still want to watch. I mean, I got to see Undertaker in person. I got to see Kane. I'm pretty sure I got to see Eddie Guerrero in person. And if I'm not mistaken, if it wasn't
You
John
got to
Cena,
see Eddie in person?
yeah, it was in
I'm
Shreveport,
jealous.
Louisiana. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it
Wow.
was him. And because I think it was during that time, I think that's when he was really hot. Because I think it was around those times where he'll flop on the ground and throw the belt to the side and just be at the,
Hmm.
stuff like that. So if I'm not mistaken, I did get to see Eddie. I don't, I may be wrong. I don't think I got to see John Cena, but I think I got to see Batista live during that. Because it ended up being, it was back in the day where, because everything on Friday nights was pre-recorded, it wasn't live. And
Hmm.
so basically it was a double feature pretty much. We watched Raw and there was like a pause. They did a whole reset, so you got to see them
Hmm.
reset, and that's when the big fist was the SmackDown thing,
Yes, they need to
and
bring that back.
they brought that in, and then I won't ever forget my dad had went to the concession stand, and I'm just there just chilling or whatever like that, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, boom, and it was Kane coming out, and they didn't warn us of anything, like it was just.
Um,
It was crazy. So yeah, I got to see Kane and I got to see Undertaker. So it was really cool. And growing up at that time, like Undertaker was my number one. It was Undertaker then John Cena. So
I got
um,
to see John Cena live once.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, dope, man. Yeah, I had the John Cena documentary, I had the Undertaker documentary, and I don't know if I had I may have had the Shawn Michaels one too. If it was either that or it's like a DX documentary. It was like on this or whatever. So it's kind of funny because it's just like I'm realizing as I'm getting older now, I've been into stuff like that longer than I realized because I
Mhm,
try to give credit to like what's that Floyd Norman, An Animated Life,
mhm.
and stuff like that, even though that's an influence in the way I'm producing my current documentary. But yeah, like man, I can tell y'all about something about John Cena. I can tell about how he got into bodybuilding. I can
Yes, me too.
oh
I
man.
know way too much about Justin.
I can tell you about some things, you know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, but that's dope. That's dope. I mean, going into what I've been watching, I've been having a documentary bug. I actually watched two this past weekend, and it was actually very, very much so worth it because I haven't been watching much either. I watched DBZ, Dragon Ball Z. We just got back into that. And ironically enough, I wasn't expecting it. It's after the Cell arc, but at first I thought it was going to be really lame. And it
Mhm.
kind of starts off a little slow, like this new arc or whatever. I'm not going to spoil it for the people that's listening, but it actually ended up being pretty cool. So if you ever have started Dragon Ball Z and you get on the other side of the Cell arc, like I recommend y'all check it out. It's actually pretty cool, especially where they at now too. And it's finally a time lapse, so it kind of fast forward a little bit too, and I appreciate that. So we inching closer and closer to finally keep being able to transition to Dragon Ball Super because I was told that Dragon Ball GT is not technically canon anymore.
Oh,
But I grew up well when I was growing up. That's what I watched Dragon Ball GT and I really liked it. But apparently it's not canon. You go from Dragon Ball Z to Dragon Ball Super and stuff. So
it's been so long since I've watched Dragon Ball Z. I wouldn't even know where to start.
so they got Dragon Ball and then they got Dragon Ball Z. And I tried to watch Dragon Ball and I'm like, this I'm down with animation from back in the day, but it's just a little too slow for me and a little
Mhm.
bit not
I think
my
that's
cup of
what
tea.
the last thing I watched was Dragon Ball. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I just skipped the Dragon Ball Z because basically Dragon Ball is Goku as a kid growing up.
Hmm.
And Dragon Ball Z, he's grown and married.
Okay.
And so And so, but I mean, early on when like I said, I started off watching on my own. Like I just turn it on, watch maybe one, two episodes before bed, kind of wind down. And then one time, Audrey was like, "Oh, you gonna start it at me?" So I was like, "Oh, okay, you into it too now." And so we've been watching it or whatever. So, but yeah, so been into Dragon Ball Z a little bit, and then my new night watch is Spider-Man, the '90s cartoon that I grew up on. So I've been watching that a little bit before bed, kind of having nostalgia moments or whatever like that, and stuff. I didn't realize how early Venom is in this series. He's actually in the first. Uh, he's in the around the first arc almost, I believe. So
Um,
um, but yeah, but other than that, as far as other stuff that movies, I watched the Bee Gees, How Can You Mend a Broken Heart? It's a documentary on HBO Max. It's been on my watch list for a very long time. I kind of just felt like Corgan, you need to get back into documentaries and stuff like that. And so I kind of took a break and got into that. So, but yeah, like checked out that. It's really good. It starts off a little slow. I wasn't sure if I was gonna be able to bear through it. It kind of reminded me of Donna Summer's documentary, how it starts off. It's just kind of, it's not a unique way, like a very, I don't know, like an artistic way it starts. It's just like finding a way to really connect with people that you done heard of, but just how what does this go? And I really did enjoy it. Highly recommend. It's about an hour and 50 minutes. But definitely the way like about time you make it past the first 30 minutes, it definitely gets very interesting. And I would say the way in which it was kind of like the band's downfall is pretty crazy. But it also ironically connects to my documentary right now showing the power of something that I won't say, but it's really good. Not just a goof. I finally watched it. Someone that is a talented filmmaker and artist here in Little Rock. He's working on the team to work on a different part of the documentary for me. He and I during one of our last meetings recommended not just the goof, and I just really turned it on. It's kind of one of those nights. I think it's like a Sunday night, just kind of like kind of blah. Audrey was kind of blah, and I was kind of blah, and I didn't know what to turn on. And I feel like I want to watch some before we got ready to go to bed. I was like, let me just finally turn on not just a goof. And ironically, I had just asked her, could I watch it without her, or did she really want to check it out? She's like, you can probably just go ahead and check it out. Cool. But I just turned on and because she was chilling anyway, and we got all into it, and I really needed that, man. It's a really great doc. It definitely reminds me of like growing up and watching the Goofy movie. Basically, the documentary is about a team of individuals. Basically, one of the team directors is the nephew of the main director of the Goofy movie, and so it just tells you about how, the concept, how I got started and everything like that. And I just really enjoyed it. They was able to mesh new animation as far as, reenactments to even like some of the old stuff that you see as far as the development process of it was really cool. So basically I will say this one cool aspect is witnessing how they worked it out where it wasn't getting that much attention from Disney while
Mhm.
also they were also preparing and trying to launch and get Lion King out.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's very interesting stuff. So highly recommend that to y'all. So
Whenever
um
I see that movie title,
mhm.
I instantly think about that episode in
Anna.
Atlanta. Yeah.
Yeah, yep, yep.
And
I
I'm
feel
like,
like
it's not the same thing. It's not the
motivated.
same thing.
Right, right. They definitely, I think that influenced it, but at the same time, it was 30 years later too, so it was about time for them to do it. Um, But yeah, it's definitely they acknowledge a lot of things in it, and I really do appreciate that. Um, it's definitely not a disconnected documentary. It's definitely a documentary that pays tribute to what made it be what it be. I honestly was just surprised what made it what it made it to be. I was expecting something totally different, but that just shows what else is going on around the world versus what your experience is as a kid.
Mhm.
So yeah, so highly recommend that for those who grew up watching the Goofy movie and enjoy he and Max's relationship. So, but yeah. But all right, Blaze, you ready for your first steps?
I am. It's been a long time. Long time coming.
We're
Yeah.
finally jumping into the real take of this episode, jumping into Fantastic Four. All right. So basically Fantastic Four is similar to how Superman, this current Superman that just came out did. It is not a coming of age story, is starting in the thick of it all. Okay. As I
Mhm.
believe it's like 3 to 4 years later from them getting their powers and going to space and stuff like that. And so I thought that was very interesting how they wanted to do that, similar to how they did Superman. I honestly respect it, but depending on how far we get into it, I will say I kind of feel like that could have been a little bit of a challenge for some viewers if you wasn't as familiar with Fantastic Four, because Fantastic Four before Spider-Man and everything like that was the face of Marvel and was the first team that they created. So this was before the Avengers, okay? And so yeah, so Blaze, what did you think about the introduction of their world? It was 828 and they really established they did a really great job in my opinion of establishing the world and what they're in their universe. And so what was your first thoughts when it first came on?
I love the way that they did it. Like instead of doing like a long drawn out origin story, how they did it like it was this television special. I thought that
Yeah,
was very clever. And like you
yeah.
said, it really introduced that world and the
Mhm.
time period that they were supposed to be in. But I didn't even look at it like them necessarily being in the past. I more
True.
so looked at it like just from watching Deadpool and Wolverine, like all the different worlds, like because it said
Yeah,
they were on planet whatever. So I was like, it really just introduced the world that they were in at that
gotcha.
time. Like I thought they did a
Yeah.
fantastic job in the
Mhm.
Fantastic Four, opening the movie. Like I was hooked immediately. It set the kind of the tone for the movie as
Yeah.
well, in like the pacing of it. So
Mhm.
I really enjoyed the intro.
Yeah, like I don't know how you felt about it. Within that, I was like, I will say this has been the best looking Marvel film I've seen in a while, as far as the cinematography and the decisions with the camera.
Mhm.
The colors, I really love the color grade on this. It looked really good. And stuff. And like you said, I liked the tone. It's like this, it's like they were kind of telling us this is what you need to expect, and this is the way, this is how we do things on this earth, and this is what to
Mhm.
expect. So, it's not the cell phones and all these things like that, but like you said, I felt the same way. I didn't feel like I was in old timey. I feel like it was restrictions because the thing that I thought was really cool, is that as much as it seemed kind of old schoolish, it was a very futuristic experience
Yes.
watching it, from it felt like I was in New York, and instead of the billboard stuff, it was the big television things on the
Yeah.
on the buildings and stuff like that.
It was
And
like the Jetsons.
yeah, 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 definitely, definitely, most definitely. And I think the other thing is sometimes I have to get used to people around fresh superheroes when people knowing who the superheroes were.
Mhm.
I'm not a big Fantastic Four whiz and stuff like that. So I did find it very unique how not only they can put on these suits and do X, Y, and Z, but unlike um Superman, people know who they are in and outside of the suits,
Mhm.
and there's a respect of what they do in the suit as much as they do outside the suit. And I thought that was really cool. Like they really made it known that, hey, these are the great citizens and superheroes of this city and of our
Mhm.
world. Um and stuff like that. Were there any other like tidbits as far as tone or anything like that that you feel like stood out early on that you feel like dang, like this is something different. This is something we possibly haven't seen before.
No, it made me think about, and you were kind of touching on this. It made me think about how in other superhero movies where they do hide their identity, or like the ones where people kind of know who you are, and the struggle, the back and forward with
Mhm.
that did not exist in this movie. Like
Mhm.
people accepted them, and but also it humanized the Fantastic Four as well. Like they didn't just see them as superheroes; they saw them as people who could do some really cool things.
Yeah.
Um, so I thought that that was interesting compared to others, and I know it's partly because they were astronauts, and so they they
Mhm.
they were
Mhm.
already kind of like cool, a big deal, and so for them to come back and they have these powers and choose to use their powers for good, I just
Yeah.
thought that was just an interesting way of showing how, not necessarily how they became famous, but how they became respected by the people.
Yeah, 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 most definitely. It was just very, very unique. Not used to that. Because I mean, of course, everybody knew who Tony Stark was, but I felt like it was almost Tony Stark was the celebrity superhero. Like
Hmm.
as much as you know him, but you're gonna always be excited to see Tony because he's the celebrity guy. I mean, of course, he's very smart, but at the same time, he's a larger than life in person in and outside the suit. Whereas opposed to like say for instance like Ben, it was nothing for Ben to just be walking around
Hmm.
talking, especially like you
In
said,
his
he connected
old
with the community.
neighborhood like it was nothing, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And so it definitely was um a very unique experience. So we
Oh,
moving. Oh, go
one
ahead,
more
go ahead.
thing I was gonna say is, and we talked about this when we when we did the Superman episode. I loved how they cared about the people, in the city, and they
Yeah.
cared about like how can we save people lives by by creating the least amount of damage and having the least amount of
Mhm.
lives lost. Like that was
Mhm.
their first priority every
Yeah.
time that they went and fought, whatever. I
Mhm.
don't you don't usually see that in
Mm-mm.
superhero movies. They just go out there and fight people. And it's
Right.
like the fact that they every single time they took the time to figure out what's the best plan instead of just
Yeah.
jumping into doing something. I love that because that is so
And
that's real. Like that's real.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's definitely real. And it just kind of shows it was kind of like going along with this training for NPHC that I did yesterday, and it was like, just understanding your influence and the power that you have as a student, as a student leader. And it's the same for the superheroes, which again
Mhm.
is why I really, 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 really like Civil War, is because you're opening up that conversation about that. And I do appreciate that, like you said, Blaze, how they're kind of extending that conversation and extending that awareness, and stuff like that. James Gunn is kind of just like, well, I'm already be ahead of this anyway. We not go backtrack, but I do appreciate, that it's just I did really enjoy the community aspect, and I guess that's where it kind of made it a little bit easier to transition into the whole, I feel like, family approach, to
Mhm.
where I feel like was the main focal point
Yeah.
of this film. They really want to be grounded, and I really do feel like they did a really great job with that.
Right.
How did you feel about the introduction to the Silver Surfer?
It was new to me because I'm familiar with the early 2000s Silver
Mhm.
Surfer. So I was like, okay, so y'all are doing something new. And like the more we learned, the more I was interested in it. I thought it was cool how she just popped up, said what she had to say, and then Johnny had those messages that he was listening to and all of that connecting. And then we immediately kind of got to see like how powerful she is. So I was like, okay, I'm trying to see where this is going, especially since it's so different. Because I like Silver Surfer in my head is like up there, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
They up there, so I
yeah.
was invested.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was a very unique way for them to introduce them. I like how this kind of moment, and also how they reacted to it, is they felt like veterans
Mhm.
as superheroes. Like, oh, you see that, Johnny? Da, da, da. Like, there was rarely many moments where someone was working outside of what they felt like. It didn't seem like collectively they were not going to be on the same page. And so I definitely found that interesting. And I will say I didn't expect for him to follow her as far as he did.
Right, I
uh
was like, "Bro, what you doing? You okay? You may finna
right,
this may be the end for you.
right, right, right,
Maybe
right.
just
I was
started."
like, they do, and so so we're at we find out that, which I had heard rumors that there was going to possibly be a baby, and
My baby.
basically it was confirmed that Sue was expecting, and stuff like that. How did you feel about, we're talking about the team part, like what was the how did you feel about that dynamic of them knowing about that, but then we're also seeing them getting ready to come together and eat and stuff? Um, did you feel like that was more so of them setting the tone, aware of like that as far as working with you or whatever, or did you feel like you kind of want to see a little bit more when it came to the development side of who they were, in a
No, I
sense?
think that set the tone. Like we're a family. Sue is pregnant. We all pregnant, and we're gonna all support her.
Mhm.
And we all finna just come together and raise this baby. Like, and they all
Yeah,
live together, so why not? I just
yeah,
think it set the tone, especially since that whole part was like the first, what, 20 minutes of the movie
yeah,
of
yeah,
her finding out and telling everybody else.
yeah, yeah, most definitely. And I really like Sue.
I
Sue was
know she was great.
probably my favorite character.
Yeah.
In this movie, I personally feel like the writing for her worked in a way that her Sue, the character, carried the film in a
Yeah.
sense. And I liked how her present pregnancy did not carry her. It was her being pregnant, but then yeah, the baby is important, but there was still an identity to who she was
Right.
in the community, but then and in the community in Fantastic Four, and then her connection. It was kind of like a multifaceted character in the sense of seeing
Mhm.
her in different spaces that she owned every single time,
Mhm.
uh, and stuff. I feel like I don't know if they were intentional about this, but I really feel that it really just shows how you can really flesh out a character in multiple ways without overusing them because I don't feel like they overused Sue at all. It was definitely sweet spots
Mhm.
that really got it done. Now I will say
Quality versus quantity.
yeah. Now I will say it was I the main character that I had a little bit of I kind of enjoyed next to Sue to a certain degree, but had a hard time really trying to connect with was Johnny, because I'm thinking about the old Fantastic Four stuff.
Mhm.
How did you feel like this approach was kind of fresh to you compared to of course what Chris Evans did to him, or did you feel like did it work for you or whatever, or were you kind of wanting a little bit more out of him?
I like the approach, but I wanted more.
Okay.
I feel
Okay.
like him as well as what's the
Ben.
clobbering time thing? I feel like yeah, I feel like those they kind of took their stories were very subplots, very back.
Yeah.
And I wish we would have got a little bit more of them instead of just like little touches, little glimpse. But
Hmm.
hey, that's a reason to have a second movie.
Well, I'm not gonna get into that just yet. But I'm gonna circle back to that. I agree too. I felt that there was times in the dialogue they were wanting us to take what they would say for face value instead of
Mhm.
showing us, like
It
as
was
far
very
as them
surface
teasing.
level. Yeah.
Yeah, as far as like teasing Johnny about girls and stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, I'm used to him being like that, but he doesn't seem like that type of guy. Like he kind of comes off as like that little brother that sometimes you take serious and sometimes you want him out your face.
Mhm.
Just because he's boring, just because he's kind of annoying, or you trying to do something else. But it was almost like his character was kind of like, hey, look what I done made. And
Mhm.
sometimes you want to, and sometimes you don't. And I will say, I wish I would have gotten a little bit more anger, a little bit more high stakes of an explosion between he and Reed, as opposed to it was just about the suit type of thing.
Yeah.
Because
I
it's just
agree
like,
with
yeah,
this. I agree
yeah,
with this because if you're introducing them all as being astronauts, I'm sorry, but when I think of an astronaut, I think of a very smart person, you know,
yeah,
and like he's the younger sibling, but they asked him to be a part of that mission for a reason. And
right,
so if y'all are all treating him like his voice does not matter, why?
right,
You an astronaut, my guy. So your voice matters. You smart. You got something to say. So
yes,
what like I would have liked more of that. Like I understand Sue treating him like that because that's brother and sister, but everybody else, I needed more context there.
yeah, 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 yeah. So it's like I said, like, because I'm gonna be honest with you, when I saw the running time was under 2 hours, I was like, y'all sure? Like, I
Oh,
was
I was
expecting.
happy.
I,
'Cause I was literally just thinking too before I went to see the movie, I was like, I think we have gotten to the point where superhero movies do not need to be over 2 hours. And so when
my
I looked
God.
that up and I was like, come on, under 2 hours, this is gonna be amazing.
Oh
And
my
I was right.
gosh.
And I was right.
Oh my gosh. I would have preferred a little bit longer. I feel like the beginning was good as far as establishing the tone. I feel I would have not mind taking a little bit longer to learn about everyone's interaction within the world because I think we got an idea of what everybody's lives was like in the world or in the streets, except for Johnny, I feel.
Yeah.
Because I know we saw Ben walking around. Of course, Reed is a professor, and you know it's that moments he's asking the kids. I think, does anybody want to see an explosion or something like that? And then Sue, you know, is basically like you know an ambassador, so to speak, and stuff like that. And so I wouldn't have minded being a little bit longer to help with the character development side to give me more flashbacks so I can really see why, say for instance, Reed um acts the way he acts towards Johnny and
Mhm.
stuff like that. Because like I said, to me, Johnny didn't give that annoyance to where I would see why Reed would push back unless they was trying to elaborate, which I do feel like they leaned heavy on this. They was trying to lean into how smart Reed was and sometimes how I almost wanted to it make him his ego made him passively condescending to others.
Right.
When it comes to their tale, just like, you know, because Sue knew exactly what he was thinking when it came to considering, you know, well, not considering, but just the fact that he was even processing the fact that what if we did need to give up our son for the
Mhm.
sake of the world and all that stuff like that or whatever. And so it seems like he is someone that is quick to not let people in, and he wants to be the smartest one in the room,
Mhm.
but is willing
Well,
to
I don't
work.
think it's that he wants to be the smartest person in the room. He is the smartest person in the room.
Yeah,
And having knowing that you are the smartest person in the room, and that's a lot of pressure on a person. And so
yeah,
you feel like you always have to have an answer to something. And so
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
feel like you have to have an answer. You're always thinking, and you really don't have room or time for other people's thoughts and ideas because you're thinking, and you know that you can eventually come up with the best idea.
yeah. And that's exactly where I was going. Like him knowing how smart he is, I feel like in hindsight, it's like, well, if I know this, like you said, exactly what you said, Blaze. Like, if I know this and I know I can come up with it, then really anything that everybody else is bringing to me, it could help. It could be almost exactly what I was gonna think of, but it's on me, and
Hmm.
stuff like that or whatever. So yeah, like I really like that. Now I will say one of the best action sequences that I really enjoyed is when they first get to meet Galactus,
Yeah.
you know, and also seeing a little bit more action from the Silver Surfer as they was leaving out and everything like that or whatever. How did you feel about this villain?
Um, very reminiscent of like some other big time villains. Um, Thanos,
Mhm.
Apocalypse, is it Apocalypto? Apocalypse.
Apocalypse. Yeah.
Yeah. Like very reminiscent of those type of characters where they just gotta do this one thing and they didn't smashed everybody in sight, you
Yes.
know. They didn't smashed everybody. But I liked I liked the what is it, Galactica?
Galactus.
Galactus. My favorite scene of that fight scene, like before it started, where he was like, yeah, I can consider it. Just give me your baby. Whoa, what? And then forced her into labor. Like, whoa,
Yes.
whoa, let's get out of here. This guy done lost it.
That's funny. I was talking to somebody else and they was like, yeah, man. It's just like, yeah, that's cool. Now give me your baby. Like, what?
Yeah, like y'all should have second thought coming here.
Right, man. I was like, I don't know about that, but Johnny popped off and he wasn't going, you know, and so
Mhm.
and that I really enjoyed that, like I said, that whole experience with Sue being in labor, but then also it's kind of like that multifaceted thing. Like, yes, I am trying to be a mother right now. I am trying to bring my child into the world. Oh, y'all need saving? I can do that too. You know,
Mhm.
and just her bond with Reed, which I really did enjoy, and stuff like that. I did feel like it was pretty natural and stuff like that. Um, I really think that they did a really great job of just again that moment portraying them as a team. I think every time situations that came up, they did a really good job of making sure they was on the same page.
Mhm,
I just wonder, I just think that at the same time, that may have been almost a semi Achilles heel
mhm,
to a certain degree because I feel like it was always there was barely any conflict between one another, and I feel like we got a lot of that in the old Fantastic Four, and we definitely got a lot of that in the Avengers. So I will say it was very unique to experience a group that didn't have as much conflict internally to figure things out. But I can also see where it's like they're at a more mature level to where they don't let outside things tear them apart, but they're
mhm.
not perfect. Um, so one thing I did want to bring to your attention early on when they were showing the different nations as far as voting on different things, there was one seat that did not have anybody there, and it was
I noticed
Latveria.
that.
And do you know about the significance of Latveria? I just learned about it because again,
Mm-mm.
y'all, I'm not a Fantastic Four fan. Apparently, Doctor Doom is from this country and connected to this country in some type of way.
So then I maybe have known this because the name looked familiar to me. But
Mhm.
I was just like, maybe this is something that they're gonna just reveal. So okay, that makes sense.
Yes. And so he's not there. And I talked to someone who mentioned that basically, shout out to Matt. He mentioned that basically, at least in the comic books, that's where he's Victor Doom is originally from. And so it was very unique in this moment where that seat is empty. And then as we get into the end credit scene,
Mhm,
boom, Doctor Doom is there.
mhm.
And so, because it was kind of like this very unique, I don't know if it was like that for you, but it almost kind of seemed that she was cautious, but she wasn't in a sense of like very like aggressive in a sense. And it could have easily been one of those things she really trying to scope things out and also not wanting to hurt the baby and stuff like that too, because she don't know who it is. But it was
Right.
almost like a familiar approach. Would you agree with that? Or did you see that differently?
I think I saw it differently. I don't
Okay.
think I saw her more as just being cautious, like who is this person? Because it also felt like she sensed him and she
Yeah.
sensed that something was not right or like
Yeah.
there's danger here, but not in this moment danger, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Right. No, no, I definitely agree. I can see that too. Um, I just want to know, is this Doom from this world? And was he supposed to be in that chair?
Hmm.
And if so, that means that there is a connection. And this they're establishing that the way Doom comes to power is not the way that we're used to. They're going about in a way to make sure that y'all know that this is more a comic book approach to how things were then. And so, go
In
ahead.
the comic book, Doctor Doom, he fights with the Avengers as well.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, apparently I've heard of this thing he created a Dark Avengers.
Okay, my dad may have told me this before. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah. But yeah, so basically, all of this is he is it's hard to see now, and I'm interested to see where this is gonna go. Like, is this gonna be fast? Like, yeah, I'm taking your baby. And then because I also was told that apparently the significance of him not having his mask on is that he doesn't allow people to see his face
Hmm.
because it got messed up like we
Yeah.
kind of got to see in the old Fantastic Four movies.
Hmm.
And so, but what were your thoughts when we got that scene like where you like, oh man, like how did you feel about that?
No, I felt like okay, business is picking up. Business is picking up. we are now in the Doctor Doom era. So I was excited.
Yes, yes, most definitely. Now, going back to your thought that you said about you can always get a two. Blaze, I think that's one of my main gripes with the way they went about this. And the
Mhm.
reason why I want to be longer is because we're not, I personally, and I'm not taking away somebody's job, I don't feel like we'll get a Fantastic Four 2. I think this is it, unfortunately. And I feel like we'll just get a lot of them between now and Secret Wars, just
Mhm.
because I think they did officially confirm that whatever happens in Secret War is going to almost act as a reset. And so I'm
Hey,
just,
made it.
yeah, so I'm almost curious of just like, is it going to be a reset to where Fantastic Four is outside of that reset? And so they're going to be able to continue with Fantastic Four, or will it be a full reset for everyone? And I'm more so excited to see who are they going to introduce for the reset, as far as who's going to be the new this, that, and the third moving forward, which was kind of like my gripe ish with the cliffhanger with Riri Williams, because I highly doubt we're going to be continuing with Riri Williams when most likely we're going to get a new Iron Man on down the road pretty soon. Well, I would say pretty soon, but whenever they feel like it's appropriate after whatever they plan on doing with X-Men,
Mhm.
and so
That
that's
I got
kind
a
of like
gripe with.
you said what?
I said that I got a gripe with because
Yeah.
X-Men don't need to be done over. It was done perfectly the first time. It was.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
was.
yeah. I really hope that they're able, as they approach to go transition into the world of X-Men, that they're able to find other characters that people will really be interested in to just go that lane
They have no other
instead.
choice. They
Yeah,
have no choice. I'm serious because if they use all the same characters that they did in the first one, people are just gonna compare. They're just gonna compare,
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like either y'all measure up or you don't.
yeah, yeah. No, no, you're right. No, you're right. And there's gonna be a lot of pressure. I still hold on to the fact I don't feel like uh the face of Tony Stark, the familiar face of Tony Stark, is going to be the big bad, but I may be wrong. I may be wrong.
Yeah, because that just wouldn't make sense. So I feel like there's more to that. I
Yeah.
think it kind of goes back to like Doctor Doom not wanting to show his face. I think he may be using the face of Tony as a mask.
That's what
'Cause-
somebody else.
And that would be clever in today's age instead of just having like, a typical mask. Like you wear somebody else's face essentially.
That's what somebody else said. That's what somebody else said. I mean, that would definitely be very interesting. If that were to happen and stuff. I would just wonder how they're gonna use that to the advantage of enhancing the story, and stuff like that or whatever. And gosh, I was gonna mention something else, but I can't remember what that was.
Well,
But
your point about the sequel, if there's
yeah,
not another one, like I would be okay with that.
yeah,
Like I think that this is a good solo movie,
yeah.
and they should do
And
that more often.
you know, they tried, people didn't like that, but you know what, Blaze? I really do feel if this movie would have came out after Endgame,
Mhm.
people would have been more pleased with the direction that Marvel went with the rest of his movies.
I agree.
Because I honestly look at this being not that, because I actually liked this movie that I'm about to compare it to, but I know other people wasn't a big fan because it was a very different approach to just the Marvel
Oh, this
world.
is what I'm thinking.
But I feel like this was a better version. This was a better presentation for the mass audiences, like I said, not me, of Eternals.
That one was good. Yeah. I've only watched it once,
Yeah.
but I remember being like, wow, if this
Hmm.
is the direction, I'm with it.
Yeah.
I thought it was so good. And I hate that it doesn't get talked about enough.
Mhm.
like within Marvel, but I feel like that movie was the foundation for everything that happened after it.
Yes.
Like I often, even though I've only watched it once, there's parts of it that I remember where I'm watching like these new ones and I'm like, yo, they basically talked about that in internals. Like they
Yeah.
said this was gonna happen. They said like it's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like if Fantastic Four would have came out before Eternals, I feel like people would have liked Eternals way, or the mass audiences would have liked it way more, because I feel like it's just a more, it's not as, it's slow, but it's not as slow as I
Yeah.
feel like Eternals was for a lot of people. Because to me, like I tell people, Eternals just reminded me of an old school sci-fi film. That's what it really
Hmm.
reminded me of. But that's what I grew up on, and so I do think that if this would have came out before, it definitely would have set the tone a little bit better of, like you mentioned, individuals, closed off stories for people to enjoy and stuff like that and stuff. So, um, but yeah, did you have something?
No,
Okay.
I was taking notes. I'm taking notes on some things I'm gonna talk to you about when we done.
Okay. So yeah, but overall, I did enjoy this film. I am interested, not that it matters how it's going to perform in the box office after 1 week, because
Mhm.
it is still a little bit different. Like I said, it reminded me of a little bit more energized version of Eternals. So I am interested with everything that's going on the time of year. Seems like Superman is still kind of doing its thing in theaters, how it will go. But overall, I do think it's good. I'm interested to see their impact in the MCU when it comes to how this saga would close out,
Mhm.
and everything. And so, but yeah, but other than that, Blaze, did you have anything else?
One more thing is I felt like this movie, like it showed how powerful women are. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
she was able to take out dude by herself.
Oh yeah.
Granted, she basically died. Spoiler
Yeah.
alert.
Yeah.
But like the fact that, and I never thought of Sue Storm in that way. Like I just thought
No.
of her as like invisible. And
Yeah.
so to see her throughout the movie be like one of the stronger people within their group, I was like, oh, I love this. And then just them having her be pregnant like 85% of the movie and still fight crime or whatever
Yeah.
was cool, and then gave birth. Like it was so cool to just see her do all these things but still
Yeah.
be able to help the world. And in that speech that she gave where she was like, I'm not going to sacrifice my child for the world, but I won't sacrifice the world for my child, just
That
showing
was
like
good.
I can do both things, you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I really liked that. I really liked how she put that together. And yeah, like that's why I was definitely like mentioned earlier. I totally agree, Blaze. I really like the different versions that we saw of Sue. And I will
Mhm.
say that, like, I actually look forward to seeing what other cool things they do with her.
Yeah.
Because like you said, I only thought of her, she can be invisible, or she has a force that she can push out. But seeing what she can do when all the backs are against the wall, and how she can turn a freaking ship invisible, all this stuff like that, like
Mhm.
that was really cool. I really did enjoy her character a lot.
Right. Like if I had to make a team, she on mine.
Look,
She
look,
on my team.
heck yeah. Heck yeah. So, but cool beans. Well, definitely enjoyed this episode, and this conversation about Fantastic Four First Steps. Would love to learn more about what you all thought about it and stuff like that. And so feel free to comment, on YouTube, letting us know about what you thought, or tagging us in different thoughts and everything like that. Just would love, love, love to learn more about, what you thought and everything about the project. Definitely looking forward to seeing what else Marvel has in store. Like I said, I do feel like it was almost, for me personally, in no shade, like a step towards, okay, this is what to look forward to in the last two big films. But it doesn't take credit away from Fantastic Four. Like overall, it was a solid film. So,
Yeah.
but other than that, we appreciate y'all tuning in, and hope y'all be able to tune in next time.
Peace.
Peace.